on this week's episode of Malaise, we have extra malaise. So violently malaise. Look at it. So brown. So malaise. Look at that little downrod. So malaise. Yeah. What we have here is one of the most violently malaise fans to come out of the late 70s, early 80s. Ooh, it was bad. Yeah. So what we have here is an Edison. Yes, McGraw-Edison actually offered a ceiling fan, believe it or not. Others would call this Toastmaster, but the box says something different. Right here we have the box. There's our nice malaise setting. So malaise. We've got features. Oh yeah. Model numbers. Yeah. 52-inch. Brown. Yeah. Now, let's look at the other side of the box. Got so malaise. Model 234511, 52-inch diameter. Regal brown. Motor housing with antique brass blade irons. What else existed in the Malaise era? The Buick Regal, and oh, were they malaise. 4 solid hardwood blades with pecan finish. Yeah, that's good. Solid blades are good. Solid state infinite speed control. Ooh, pre-wired for optional light kits. 40 to 200 RPM range. Easy step-by-step installation instructions. 3-year limited warranty, because they only expect these turds to last 3 years. 120 volt operation. Woo! Turn it over again, because there's more. Edison. Attractive regal brown housing. Solid hardwood blades finished in rich pecan. Easy to install mounting assembly. Motor and moving parts designed for quiet operation. Yeah, we'll see about that. Designed for use with standard 8-foot ceilings. Pullchain control for operation of fan light or both fan and light. So it's a 3-way pullchain. Pre-wired for optional light kits. Solid state for instant. Toastmaster Inc. Second in Vine. Boonville, Missouri. Yeah. Now we got some papers. Oh yeah, papers. Yeah, you could have called Toastmaster as, evidenced by the fact that, I don't know. It's a Toastmaster. This is for $5.11. Yay. Warranty card. Cool. Really wish there was some date on this thing, but I ain't complaining. A slight clicking sound may be heard during the initial break-in period of this ceiling fan. The sound will stop after a relatively short period of time. But does it stop? Does it really? Let's just focus on... Yeah, for now, I really know. We're going to about this. So, let's open up the frickin' manual. So, what do we see here? Right, we see the 52-inch. We also see a 40-inch version. Yes, because those exist, apparently. Yes. They exist. I like how you actually have to assemble the mounting bracket, because that's fun. box. Cool. Split canopy. Cool. So, yes, this thing was available, and let's see, it was available in 52-inch and 40-inch, and I think there may have been an ornate version as well in both sizes, just like there was a decorative version of the Sears Emerson frickin' drive. You know, they made a fancy version as well. So why is this thing so fucking malaise? Well, it's belt drive. Yeah, belt drive. What does that mean? It means there's a shitty little shaded pole motor just buzzing away in there, driving a belt, which then drives the hub, which then drives the blades. So why is this thing, again, so malaise? Well, this thing was made during the Malaise Era's heart of darkness, which was between, let's say, the late 70s and the early 1980s. See, in 1973, you had this thing called the oil crisis. And the Iran hostage crisis. Ooh, fun, right? That drove up the price of oil. Which means ceiling fans were back in vogue, right? So then, by, let's say, 1979, there was another energy crisis on top of everything else, and things just got worse. No one could afford fuel, and at this point, the only things that were really around were the, say, Hunter Original, drawing 2.5 amps and high wattage. So they tried to reinvent the wheel. Various companies did, to try and make a ceiling fan that was more efficient. More fuel efficient, if you will. This thing is one of many. This thing is belt drive, okay? It uses a shaded pole motor, at least I assume it's shaded pole. I haven't opened it yet to find out, but I would assume shaded pole motor to drive a, actually, maybe it's PSC, I hope it's PSC, to drive a wheel, you know, another, pulley on the hub, alright? Then you had the Newtone friction drive. That thing, or Newtone veranda as it's actually called, okay, that thing used friction drive, yes. Which basically meant that, well, you know, it used a wheel, a rubber wheel to drive a metal surface on a hub, which then drove the blade assembly. That was pretty malaise. Okay, then you had the Emerson friction drive, or frickin' drive. Shut up. Right, so... Alright, so anyway. Yeah, the frickin' drive. The Emerson version was quite possibly one of the worst. Okay? Because, well, used a metal wheel to drive a rubber surfaced metal hub. Okay? Oh man, this thing was bad. It was noisy. Well, I'll get back to that, but like, it was probably the worst performer of all of them. I mean, and probably the least reliable of them all. Then Magic Heat, or Magic Skeet, or Tragic Heat, whatever you want to call it, also had a belt drive original knockoff. Yeah, imagine that shit. That's about as bad as it gets. And then they later went to a very, very, very small stack motor with a plastic flywheel. But, yeah, they were bad. Who else did this sort of thing? Let's see. It all started with Hunter. Yes, Turek. Way back in the 1900s. Actually, no, 1890s. 1898, I think, is when it was introduced. Maybe 1897, I don't really remember. But they created the friction drive. which was a really, really crude attempt at making a ceiling fan, because Hunter, for whatever reason, did not want to do it the DC route like everyone else did. They wanted to make something AC, but couldn't quite get that oil bath dream going just yet. That was still in the planning stages. They created it. It's loud as hell. Performs like shit. It's freaking awesome. I'd love to have one, but oh, is it bad. So, yeah, there were a few attempts at making a more efficient ceiling fan, and most of them sucked. Because companies at this point did not have their PSC game down just yet, and oh god, it was bad. So, But eventually, PSC, or permanent split capacitor motors, became the norm. And this really started, I mean, Hunter didn't start this until '84, right after the Malaise Era really kind of ended. Right? And other companies started getting together sooner. Emerson, with a K63, had it since the 60s, late 60s. 68, okay. Fasco had it together since at least the late 70s. I mean, GE had it together. I mean, but anyway, how does this thing run? How does it perform? That's the question. So yeah, brown plastic housing. Cool. Solid wood blades again. Cool. 10-degree blade pitch. Cool. Plastic switch housing. So freaking cool. Plastic 2-piece canopy. Cool. 3/8 inch down rod. Oh, so cool. Arcless pull chain, though. This implies that this thing probably started coming about in around 1980, maybe 81. So, anyway. Let's see how it performs. Oh god. Oh god. Oh, it's bad. Now this one I got new in the box. New in the friggin' box. Oh, the furnace says hi. Cool. Alright. Box says 40 to 200 RPM, which is actually kind of impressive if you think about it. Because, again, this is a belt drive thing. What kind of performance does it really have? This is like if you bought a fan at the dollar store. Alright? Going back to the Emerson frickin' drive, it was their cheapest, I mean friggin' cheapest model. Available from 78 to 82. Alright? And this thing, oh god. Like, everything was made of plastic. The whole motor housing, whole switch housing, canopy, everything except the down rod. The magic skeets, even the down rod was plastic. Flywheel, plastic. Switch housing, plastic. Motor housing, plastic. Down rod, friggin' plastic. Canopy, again, plastic. The new-tone friction drive was built a bit better. It had a PSC motor in it, which was actually kind of cool. And, but that thing didn't last very long. That probably lasted maybe 3 years? 2 or 3 years. Before it was replaced by, what? Oh, a GE stack motor, or an A.O. Smith stack motor, or a Universal stack motor. But I think GE started with them first. That was the Veranda Deluxe. Got them out of the Malaise Era. So, oh man. It's just so fucking loud. But I've had freaking drives. You know, I have a belt drive magic skeet. You know, magic heat, rather. And it's just like... God. Although I expected the blades on this to be plastic. I honestly did. Nope, they went hardwood for this. I mean, even Newtone's blades were plastic. They went hardwood on the magic heat too, to be honest, but... God. So bad. Balls. The hub is essentially a dropped flywheel. The blades mount like they would Emerson or Fasco to the dropped flywheel. So, very interesting design. Now, the Toastmaster / Edison belt drive thing is very, very rare. Probably because they suck. Alright? You don't see them. I mean, I think one is a couple of them have surfaced in the wild recently, but like, I mean, I don't know if they all worked. You know? So, it's just like, or if they did work, they weren't working well. I mean, now somebody, he knows who he is, he knows what he did, had a motor for one of these eons ago, but like a dumbass decided to scrap it. Any guess as to who that could be? Yeah, but he had no blades for it, and finding parts for these things is next to impossible. Now, this past winter, back in January, I found a blade set for one of these at some place in Schittsburg. We tend to scrap motors and leave the blade sets out to disappoint the masses. Alright? Now, if someone still had the motor, well, we'd make a complete fan, but nope. But anyway, let's put the speed up just a bit. This low speed is fun and all, but let's put it up. Let's do a quarter of a turn. And of course, being a Malaise turd, it has that Malaise wobble. God. Now, other Edisons were made by air-cool. Later ones were made by air-cool. They're actually not too bad. They use spinner motors. I mean, industrial-based spinner motors, but there's the loud again. But yeah, they use them. They're good. So Malaise. Let's put it up an eighth of a turn. It's got that Malaise wobble. I wouldn't mind finding a 40-inch of these, but good luck with that. Hard enough to find a 52. Now, there was another company, I forget who the hell they made. It was also owned by that person who scrapped it. It looked like a trash can. It kind of reminded me of an Emerson heat cycler. Alright. But, yeah, actually got a little faster, cool. But it was gear driven. That was another thing they did. I mean, early Casablancas were gear driven. Alright. And there were a bunch of other gear-driven fans, like early A&Gs were gear-driven before they started putting stack motors in them. You know? The RPM range is actually quite good. Let's go full blast. Yeah, so this thing actually is doing 200 RPM. Hey, believe it or not, this turd ball actually does 200 RPM. I mean, yeah, the blade pitch is 10 degrees, sure, so it's not going to move that much air. But overall, it's not that bad. I mean, this thing sounds... Oh, yeah, there was also the... Squirrel brain. There was also that... Panama, whatever... Gear-driven... Like, it was like yellow and brass. It was a magazine order fan. Oh god, that was probably the worst of them all. It sounded like a goddamn can opener. Again, how to reinvent the wheel, but end up making a turd. There you go. So they shat that thing out of catalogs for a short time. They were dirt friggin' cheap. Not many of them sold, and if they did, they didn't last. They were disposable. They were straight shit, so those are rare. Kind of neat from a morbid curiosity standpoint, but other than that, no, you don't want it. So, I mean, oh, it buzzes, it hums, but this is the best performer of them all. Although I haven't tried the Magic Skeet, so I don't really know for certain how that goes. But the friction drive's the worst. Emerson friction drive's the worst. Newtone friction drive, I've never had a 52, so I don't really know. I've only had a 36. But this is nice. This thing actually performs okay. I'm surprised. So Malaise. So that is high speed. Now I'm going to turn it off. This thing actually has an oddly long spin down time for what it is. I mean, I'm really surprised it takes this long for this thing to spool down. I had wanted one of these just out of morbid curiosity ever since he knows who he is. Showed this one for sale, but ended up scrapping it because reasons. So, but this thing, it's weird. It's brown. It's Malaise. It's everything I could ever want. So, definitely a nice find, that's for sure. If not a complete turd. But there you have it. The Toastmaster / Edison ceiling fan. That's all they called it. Just the ceiling fan.